Thanks for joining. What we'll do today is we'll go and cover all the theories that we have discussed earlier, and later on in coming 3 to 4 sessions, after 3 to 4 sessions, we have lab. We have different type of labs. Some of the labs are easy and straightforward, but some of the labs are actually difficult. And our focus is on micro-segmentation as well. So in the lab section, we will discuss about micro-segmentation and their utility, usability as well. So what we are going to do today is that whatever we have studied in last 5 days, last 6 days actually, day 1 to day 6, that will go and do a revision of that. This particular slide that you are seeing, this is under day number 5 folder. This is something that you can have with yourself. Means this can be your reference slide because it will tell you almost everything that we want to cover. We want to learn in ISE related to network administrator. Apart from that, there are some other pieces as well, such as this micro segmentation that we will discuss later on when we'll perform the lab task related to micro segmentation. We have booked one date, 13th of April. That is weekend, either maybe Saturday or Sunday. I think that is Saturday or maybe Friday night for you. On that day, we are going to complete all those lab tasks. I just wanted to finish all the lab tasks in the same day, in the same recording. So later on, you can refer only one recording and you have all those related steps. Okay, so let's start. And most of the things you will see in these slides that you already know. So when you have to break a network, and today I was taking session for bring up process for SD-WAN, and you can see the similarity here. So in SD-WAN, what we are doing, we are bringing up the control plane devices, like you have vManage, vBond, vSmart, and then you're bringing up the edge devices. In the bring up of the control plane devices, you have your VPN 0, VPN 512. In the edge devices also, you have VPN 0, VPN 512, and the service side VPNs, right? So point here is this, that when you are bringing up the network, you can start from somewhere small, and then slowly you can add multiple things, so you can grow the network. So here also you will see that if I have to go and learn the usability of ISE in terms of networking component devices, so what I can do, I can start from somewhere and slowly I can go and grow that entire network. The usability of ISE will be somewhere. So suppose I have ISE box here somewhere, and the ISE is working as a policy plane. This is the policy plane, policy framework that can be governed to the entire infra. And in our case, the infra that we have is both wired and wireless. So I have wired user, wire, and mostly we'll see that you have nowadays 90% wireless user. No one wants this wire within the network. So mostly you'll see wireless. Apart from that, if you are in the corporate network, then you will see some customers, they are working from home, other remote locations, and they are using VPN to connect to the corporate network. So we have users in these boxes, we have wired, wireless, and all those users. And then in between, we have some corporate network. So we have the networking component, network, and then everything is connected. Somewhere they will go and connect, right? So everything is connected. Can I get this? Yeah, everything is connected like this. And then from network, it is connected to the ISE, policy plane ISE. So what we want to understand, because we are breaking everything in a small pieces just for our understanding. And then slowly we are growing the network and we are understanding all those areas. So for example, here, the networking and the policy plane ISE, what will be the protocol and communication channel in between them? Radius. They are using radius protocol. Remember, in the switches, suppose network, so you have switches, routers, firewall, etc., etc. You are configuring that to radius protocol, authentication port, authorization ports, and all. So this is something like L3, a way of communicating between the network to the ISE. You have L3 reachability in between them. But what about these components? So here you may have different type of methods. Any connect profile you need to create, but generally you have username, password, or MAC based authentications that customers can go and connect to the switch. Suppose this network having switches where my customers are connecting. And here the protocol, you will see that we may have leap. These are extensible authentication protocol or lightweight EAP, PEEP, like that. This is very much like layer 2 communication in between my device to the network, and in between the network to the ISE, we have layer 3 communication. So that means somehow these layer 2 packets will encapsulated within IP frames, and then it will reach to the policy plane, right? So likewise, we are going to break the components that we have in today's session, and we are going to learn. So now, if you see this diagram here in the bottom, so these are the users. These are the users, right? Connecting with the network and then connecting with the policy plane. The diagram that I have drawn, anywhere you will see box 1, box 2, box 3. Now from here to here, you have different authentication. From here to here, you have different authentication. Now, as a network admin, it's up to us that how we are providing the network security. So for example, there are methods like open and monitor and close. So close. I want secure infra, so I will go and move to the close mode. How it is that, okay, somehow you are reaching to the ISE. Once you are reached to the ISE, once your authentication, authorization, and accounting, basically authentication and authorization is happening, then you are moving to the closed zone. Then you have restricted access. So first authentication will happen, and then what resources you will get from the network. That means what is your authorization, how much authority you have within the network. Who will govern? ISE. How it will govern? Because we will go and create such type of policy within the ISE that once this group of users, they will get authenticated, authorized, then they have such type of access. And we know that we may have ACL permissions, VLAN permissions, and all those policies that can be pushed from ISE to the devices. Right. So now you can see that the flow chart, if it is a MAB authentication, if it is a user-based authentication, then .1x, MAC-based authentication, MAC. So device, learn MAC, traffic flow. Is it .1x? .1x timeout. If .1x will timeout, it will go to MAB. If MAB will successful, then give the full access. If it is not, give the limited access. If .1x is successful, give the full access. or role-based access or give the limited access. This is the overall flow chart we have. It's straightforward. Your authentication method is either MAV or 802.1x, right? So first of all, they are trying, the system is trying for a .1x. If .1x is getting failed, then it will go and check the MAC-based authentication. If MAC-based authentication is passed, then it will do the authorization. And then the users, they have the access to the network resources, right? So likewise, everywhere you have the same strategy. The thing is this, that how you'll go and create the policies and profilings and all those things that we need to learn. So technology wise, no big issue. We are not learning BGP, OSPF, OMP and all those things. What you are learning, how you can go and manage the ISE. So once you install the ISE in a HA, first of all, what is your ISE strategy? ISE strategy means that there are different personas within the ISE. So where is the PAN, where is the PSN, where is the monitoring, where is the pixel grade? How you are doing the deployment for all these personas, right? Once you have the deployment for all these personas, that means your policy plane is up and running. Then you will go and check the networking devices. My ICE is able to discover those networking devices or not. Otherwise, you can go and add all those components manually, right? Once you go and add those components manually, that means your network piece is done. Because anyways, these users will go and connect with the switches or the routers. Somehow they will reach to this networking component. Then what's the next piece? Next piece is this, that we have to go and build the policy. Right? Policy is one of the key thing that we should go and learn within the ICE. So here you can see that first time if you bring up, you have to go and enable different type of personas. Now it may be within the device, it may be distributed. Obviously in the enterprise, we are putting these as a distributed model. Once you have this PSNs, within PSN, you will go and create all sort of policies. Yeah, just the revision slide. We have discussed about this. If you go to the properties, then you will go and get this. Now in this slide, this is actually very interesting slide. This one and next one, you can see this sad face and then you can see this smiley. Why? Because when you are creating the policy, you can see that employee policy, and first of all, the logic is and then sub logics and or and then or and then or, like it's like mess. While creating the policy, we are not planning that what we want to do first. We want to do first authentication with the AD group, external group, or we want to assign some features, you know. Now, if we go and create such type of policy, because, you know, and means this and this, if both are not matching, it will go fail. Or means this or this or this. So or is like loose restriction and is little bit strict restriction. Now you can see this policy. In this policy, you'll see the blocks are defined. So block location, block 2 authentication methods and endpoint, block 3 AD groups, block 4 ID groups. So this you can see nothing is defined, nothing is hierarchical. Here you can see it is and or. Within and you have or, within and you have or, and then or. So this is something that we should optimize the policy. Otherwise, the recirculation will happen. You are sending something for authentication, it will come back, ask you, okay. Then again, it can go to some other place for authentication. Better that we should create the policies in a proper manner. Yeah. We know this ID store and all. Even we have done some policy examples earlier, but point here is this, that more you practice, different type of use cases you will work on, you will become very good. So this EAP and TEAP and LEAP, last time we have done this, that for example, we have to create one policy where employees will go and have the TLS type of connectivity, and the contractor, they have some PEEP type of connectivity. So you can do that. No problem on that. Okay. Now let's go and learn about the protocol. I told you earlier, again, whenever you are studying this, just be aware about this particular diagram. Where is what? If we are learning 802.1x, what's the scope of 802.1x? A scope of 802.1x that your devices, again, it's either wired or wireless. Wireless 802.1x is there. Wireless 802.1x is also there. So either it's a wired or wireless. Scope of this particular protocol is from devices connecting to the switch port, right? So a scope is very important. Let's understand. This is a big protocol and it has so many revisions and it has its own history. It has its own RFC. Earlier, the name was different. Now the name is different. It's like a big protocol. Within this protocol itself, you will see different type of features and all. I don't want this. Okay, so you can see this diagram. My handheld devices endpoints, they are connecting with the Ethernet. So in this example, actually, we have both wired and wireless 802.1x. And the namings you can see here in this, the endpoints, they are termed as a supplicant. This is authenticator. And then you have authentication server, that's the ISE. Then you have the external AD servers, external ID sources like AD or CA servers, etc. So what will happen? I told you earlier that in between these handheld devices and these devices, we have 802.1x. So we'll go and check this, right? Okay. Oops. Sorry for that animation. Okay. So now you'll see here the protocols. So now, so I told you earlier that 802.1x we have within the supplicant and the authenticator, right? And then within the authenticator and the ISE, we have radius protocol, that is, this is L2 protocol, this is L3 protocol. And again, I told you earlier that how these packets will carry through the ISE. For that, we have EAP, Extensible Authentication Protocol, that will carry my layer 2 frame up to the ISE. Now you can see here that, okay, endpoint here, EAP. EAP scope is from this end to the other end, right? So that's why you're seeing that scope for the EAP. And it's actually very easy. We are sending some request packet going to the switch, and then we are responding to the switch first. So your initial handshake is happening with the endpoint to the switch. Then you will see that in between the switch and the ISE, we have this radius. So radius authentication is going on. Somehow this will get extended, obviously with the EAP protocol. from the endpoint up to the Cisco ISE. So now you can see in this diagram, that's the beginning of the authentication, EP start, EPOL start. Then in the mid, how the request is going on. So now I am sending the request to the switch, and switch, they are carrying the request to the ISE. Then ISE authentication is happening in between them. Port will get authorized. Then you have the access. That means port get authorized means that ISE will go and push some VLANs, some ACLs, some permissions or deny within the port. And according to that, this device will get the access. If it is unauthorized, then session, then you have the limited access. Right. So likewise, we have the EP authentication in between them. I just wanted the, I don't want highlighted. Okay. Let me go and break this. Okay. So here I am. Then you can see that this is actually very important. So obviously we'll go and create the policies later on, but now you can understand that part 1 and part 2. So in other way, you can mark this as a part 1 and part 2. So that will help to understand. This is part 1 and this is part 2. Part 1 is your 802.1x and part 2 is your radius, right? But 1 and 2, they are connected with EP. Somehow your frames should be carried to the ISE. So that's the overall picture we have. So now here you can see clearly that once you get authorized, then VLAN assignment will happen, then dynamic ACLs will get pushed, or SGA. If we have this micro-segmentation, then those labels will get pushed, the tags will get pushed. All these things are happening once we have the authorizations, right? So again, examples are there. More and more examples will be there, pushing the VLAN, pushing the ACLs, and in case of wireless networking also, same type of things are happening, pushing the dynamic ACLs. All those examples are there, right? So how this change of authorization is happening behind the scene, it is showing in the diagram that once you have no authentication, then your EP is successful, then you have the authentication successful. Then ISE will go and start pushing the parameters to the switch, and then switch having that compliances, means switch having all those authentication authorization, so it will go and change the authorization. That's the change of authorization. Now you have the full access as per the policy. So you can see step number 6, that is change of authorization. That means full access. Again, I told you that it's not that something we are learning some new protocol or some technologies and all. This is something that we are learning the terminologies within the ISE. In other term, it is like easy. You go and means you have your network, full-fledged network devices having connectivity to ISE. Go create the policy to ISE, push that policy, and it will work. It's like that. But behind the scene, there are things are happening. You can see now in this diagram. So you can understand that where is my authentication protocol, where is my communication channel in between the ISE and the networking devices, and who is carrying my authentication till ISE. So in this diagram, you can understand everything. A021X, radius, and EP. And what I have done, While creating the slide, I have added everything. So in future also, when you go and refer these slides, you'll get all the answers. Okay. And even I haven't left anything. I have added each and everything. Okay. So about the Active Directory. So question here is this, while you're checking this slide, question here is this. Okay. Who will do the authentication? Yeah, I'll ask you just to make little bit interactive this session. You can answer. Who is looking for authentication? Yeah, you can answer. Jesus, you're there, Michael.
The user or device is looking for authentication, no?
Devices or users, right?
Oh,
Okay.
I was muted.
And
Yeah, that's what I was saying too, right?
yeah,
You can hear me now?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So second question here is this, that suppose user, some user wants authentication. Where is that user?
User is behind the PC laptop there.
PC and
But the
laptop.
user are created in maybe an Active Directory, or something like that.
Yeah. So suppose I am working in a company, abc.com, and I am part of IT department. So where I am in the company?
In the Active Directory. You
In
create an
the Active
account there.
Directory, in some directory, right? So, okay. And suppose if I am not in Active Directory, then where I am?
You can be in the local database in the ISE.
Local database in ISE also I can be, okay. Suppose if I am not in local database of ISE and the Active Directory, then
Somebody else in Azure or something else.
then I'm a hacker coming outside. Okay,
Yeah.
so point here is this, that to whom we are writing all these policies, what type of users. So earlier I told you that anything can be a user for ISE. Is it it may be in Active Directory. If it is not in Active Directory, then it may be some internal user that you mentioned, that in ISE, some local profile that we have created in ISE. Suppose it is not a case that it belongs to some username password, then it may be any type of MAC address, like any type of device, like HP, Cisco, non-Cisco, all those profiles we have in ISE that we can go and define. It may be any type of IoT device. It may be any type of a scanner, biometric device, anything, right? Anything. So what will be the identity for that device? MAC address. If you do not have username, then it can be authenticated via the MAC address, right? Apart from that, we have one other option as well that is related to Cisco AnyConnect. So Cisco AnyConnect, IP phones, IP phones also have MAC address. Sometimes IP phones have their username password. Cisco AnyConnect attributes also may be the user. So now I know that to whom I am writing the policy. Very much clear. So then I can go to ISE. Within ISE, although I have 2000 different type of MAC addresses, 200 different types of AD, maybe AD groups, or 5000 different types of users. But smart engineers can go and group those things within the ISE. So ISE, you can go and create, first of all, you can import the Active Directory users. So you have one category, then you have internal user category. Then you can go and create the MAC based groups as well, like a scanner group or external PC group or some contractor groups and like that, like, because what we want, different group of users will go and create different type of policies, right? So if we do this much analysis, this much optimization, we will be always good in terms of ICE. Then again later on you have some requirement related to guest user access or MDM portals and all those things. That will obviously you will get some help from the OEMs as well. They will help you on these parts, that how to create profiles and the policies related to these users as well. Now in this diagram, it's simply telling that what is Active Directory, how to add the Active Directory. And then I have added this slide just to make sure that suppose if you are new and you want to see that how we are adding the Active Directory. So all slides are like this. Go give the username password successful. Then go and retrieve the groups. Say retrieve the groups. Then you can select the groups, whatever groups you want, you can select, you can add. If you want to retrieve some attributes, certain group, you can go and add. You want to test some user, you can go and test the user. Right. So like that I have added. Then since I have done this for AD, I have done this for LDAP as well. Lightweight some Active Directory, Directory Access Portal. So once you go and read all these documents, you will feel very good. So AD and LDAP, how to add the LDAP, same process. I'll walk you through such quickly. Okay, so what we have discussed so far, we have discussed that within the user to the network devices, we have different protocol, and then from the network device to the ICE, you have different protocol. This was the diagram, right? And then these ICE can be integrated with LDAP or AD, and then obviously you have to go and create the policies. Now in this section, upcoming section, I just wanted to give you some points related to that, what type of configuration we need for 802.1x in the networking devices. Again, don't worry about this configuration and all. You will get all these configurations in the lab section. This configuration that we have, I have this configuration in the notepad and you will get it. Don't worry about that. Okay, so from this point onwards, what I have done, that I created some slides for you to understand the ICE policy. So this is slide number 86. And this is actually very important. If so far you haven't referred this class, you can refer this class from slide number 86. Because now we are going in the actual thing. Actual thing means that how we can go and create the policies and what's the use of different policy options we have in the ICE. And you will understand this. Simply you can go to these slides, just click enter, and everything is arranged in a way. So first of all, we are going to the policy set. You can go to policy set, you can create the policy, and then I will go and populate the policy. So now you will see policy set name, condition, allow protocol. Within policy set, we have authentication policy and we have authorization policy, right? Authentication and authorization. Now you can see example of authentication. It's a MAV or 8021X, wired or wireless, doesn't matter, right? Authentication policy is okay. You know that thing. We have created this policy. But main thing that we have to utilize is like the utilization of brain is something that when we'll go and create the authorization policy, like if group is employee, then access employee level. And then this thing, that not only that we are creating the authorization policy, but just to create the authorization policy, you have to create the authorization profile as well. So what I am telling here is this authorization profile here. Okay, so in a network device, you can see clearly this diagram. How good is this? 802.1x up to here, or MAV or CWA. Then radius, within radius, that will go to ISE. We have first what? Authentication policy. And then we are creating what? Authorization policy. Within authorization policy, even to start this authorization policy, you have to create authorization profile. Within authorization profile, you can go and add. What are the things you can go and add? You can go and add the VLAN information, the trunk information, the redirections of portal information, the dynamic ACLs, all those informations you can go and add in authorization profile, because it's part of authorization policy, right? Then you have multiple conditions in the authentication. You have simple condition, you have compound conditions that you can go and add. Then the same thing you have in the authorization policies as well. You have simple and you have the compound policies. Now, once the device will get access, you can see that device, the employee. So you can see that we have employee access, we have contractor. So we have two different type of users, employee, contractor. And once they will go and get the access, sorry for that, contractor is part of wireless and employee is part of wired. The point here is this, that once they will go and get the access, what type of authorization they will get? Question to everyone. Once my employee will get the access, what type of access? Once it will get authorized, what type of access it will get? Yeah, question to everyone.
Sorry, what was the question?
So once either employee or contractor will get the authorization, you can see authorization success, this arrow, blue arrow. Then what type of access, what type of authorization they will get?
That will depends on each the group that is maybe permit to some specific group or something like that.
So these access, always these access only. Either you will go and push the dynamic ACL, or you will go and push some VLAN, or security group tagging, or redirections, or airspace ACLs. Let's just say ACLs for wireless network. So ACL, redirection, VLAN, SGT. Only these things they are getting as a permission. Okay, so this is actually very, very important slide. Slide number 97. Okay, so far so good. Any doubt in this? Any question, any doubt, please feel free to ask. All right. So we are going
No, very
good.
good, very good class today because we are recapping everything.
Yeah. So again, I told you earlier, I'm repeating same thing again and again, because there is not like SDWAN or DNA where we have to go and learn so many things. But here, the point here is that you have different type of endpoint. So here the learning is like reverse. Reverse in the sense, meanwhile, if it is a night time, let me give you one cup of coffee. So here what you have to learn that you have to learn about the nature of different type of endpoint. What is the challenging factor we have here in this? Challenging factor is that in one big enterprise nowadays, you know that anything can be part of network. Any type of devices, they are in the network. So understanding the nature of different type of endpoint, that is one of the big challenge we have. Now, according to that challenge, you have to go and create the policy. And policy is also not that straightforward that I'll go and create one policy for all the devices, right? So that segregation is the challenge, that we have to go and create policy for printer. In printer also, you will see that you have different vendor printer, HP and Dell and Dell, I don't have HP and Canon and it's ETC, ABC, ABC, right? So that's the challenge we have. Challenge is to identify the endpoints, and for those endpoints, how we can go and create the policy. Authentication policy is okay, but the main brain will get utilized when we'll go and create the authorization policy. Because once you go and click, you will see 200 options, and then you have to select from that, right? All right, so far we have discussed about 802.1x. Likewise, we have MAB. MAB is like easy MAC address authentication bypass. And in case you have different type of devices like MAC based devices, then how you can go and provide first of all authentication. I can see the problem here that this device, obviously all the devices, they are trying 802.1x first. 3 times they are trying this. If it is timeout, you can see 3 times 802.1x in the diagram. If it is a timeout, then it will go for MAB. MAB means like MAC address authentication. And in the diagram, you can see that, let me show you the bigger picture here. So how this MAB is happening, again, the process will be the same. You have the edge, so you don't have 802.1x, so that's why you can see in the diagram, request fail, request fail, request fail. Then MAC address authentication is starting. Then that frame will be carried within the radius protocol. It will be carried to the ISE. And ISE, if ISE having that information, then ISE will do the authentication, and then the authorization will start. And then as per the policy, whatever access it need, it will get the access. Okay. So MAB is also same, 802.1x is also same, but for MAB, you have to create separate policy. For 802.1x, you have to create separate policy. Generally, MAB is belonging to those devices where you can't go and put the username and the password, right? Then our very important topic, TrustSec. Again, TrustSec, we are going to focus more on that, but we know that TrustSec is something that is group-based access. We want to create tag-based access, permit or deny. And in that, actually, when we are integrating this with DNA, it will become very easy. So obviously, I will show you one lab later on. And I have very nice lab and use case related to this. We'll check that. But the point here is this, we know this point that you are putting some tag value to some group of users. So HR having different tag, sales having different tag, and not only HR and sales, within HR itself, if you have category like HR1, HR2, HR3, HR4, there also you can go and use this TrustSec policies to permit restrict between the HR itself. So it will go and support the micro-segmentation as well. With that, we can go and use. Some keywords are there that do the classification, enforcement, and propagation, because we want automation within these SGTs. So some of the devices, all the modern devices now they are supporting SXP protocol. That means this propagation of tag will be seamless. By default, it can be propagated from one place to other place. So what does it mean? It means that you think like this, that you have one data center and then you have several branches. So suppose this is one of the branch, and then you can see your data center. Now within branch to data center, I may have 200 devices. Uh, Suppose at least 10-15 devices I have, right? So the tag value that I am creating to one of the branch, is this meaningful when it will go and reach to the server if it will not propagate, right? So that's a very important point here, propagation. So you can do the classification for the tags. You can go and push the policies to the networking devices, but it should propagate. There are three areas we have, is like classification, propagation, and enforcement of the TrustSec tags. But although these are very, big things, like, oh, the TrustSec, we are using SG ACL's TrustSec, we are doing classification, propagation, enforcement, but behind the scene is just a policy. Create the policy within the group, assign the tags, create the contract in between them, and it will work. Okay. So definitions are there. I told you earlier that this is very nice slide where you can go and learn so many things, and these are like everything is not fit in one slide. So one slide, then you can go to next, and then you can go next, like that. I have created this. This slide number is starting from 111. Slide 111, TrustSec policy and propagation. Even I have shown some packet, packet captures as well, that where exactly they are in the frame, Cisco metadata, they are propagating. And then in a network, you can see that you have the data center. And in this data center and the branches, you have full-fledged TrustSec deployed. So TrustSec based authorization policies and TrustSec based like tag we have. If it is a SDA deployment, again, then management of TrustSec policies are very easy with SDA deployment. But before SDA also, people are using TrustSec with all those protocols, supporting protocols like SXPs and all. So you can see clearly now it's easy to manage. So employee can go and access voice. Simply tags are there that will go allow or disallow from this matrix. What's the source? What's the destination? So apart from this, creating heavy ACLs within the switches, within the routers, who is taking the decision? Who is the decision maker now? Your ISE. Because these policies, they are actually, they are dynamic policies. Once the device will get authorized, then only these policy will get enforced to the devices, right? So that's the nice thing we have, like automation within the network. Nothing is there. At the moment you will go and do the authentication authorizations, then it will get pushed to the devices. And that's why all the terms you can see, the SGACLs, the environmental data, SXP, the propagation protocol, reservations, then the mapping within the IP to SDT. All those things are there. Nice animations are there, you can see. Red, green, and blue. Remediation server, shared services, and the app services. And then how the employees will go and uh, get these resources. So in this, what I have done here, just to show you that suppose if you have to go and disallow with some ACLs, access control list, with ACL, you may have to go and write thousands of lines of ACLs to create, to allow or disallow 200 users. But if you go and do this via the ISE policy, then you will actually reduce the cost. Reduce the cost means that you will go and reduce the processing cycles of the routers and switches, because now everything you are managing from one central location. So you can see for 400 source and 300 destination, just for 4 permission, your access control list are 48,000. You can see in the bottom, these many ACLs you have to manage. And now you can reduce the burden with TrustSec. You can see the number with TrustSec you are managing just 12, right? So traditional ACL you have to manage 48,000. With TrustSec SGACL you are managing only with all those things you are managing just 12. Obviously the burden in the network will get reduced, right? And it has advantages. Obviously it has advantages. It is a standard, it is centrally managed. You can change also. Tomorrow if you want to change the permission, you can change the permission from one location. So this is actually nice, one of the nice feature we have in terms of security. Right? Anyone has any query? Please ask. You can show this data to your management why you are using TrustSec, right?
Luego want to implement some.
All right.
That's a very good class, Rakesh, because we recap almost what we see in the first 6 classes, no?
Yeah. So in this we have actually total 299 slides, almost 300 slides. So what I will do that, let's break this class in two parts and we'll continue from here in the next session.